Hello, once again. This is Vincent from Southside Korero. I'm here to discuss the most wonderful conversation I had this morning. I talked to an amazing couple by the name of Helen Tua, as well as David Tua, the legend himself, as well as boxing icon. It was an incredible experience. Talking to Helen, I just felt the warm, nurturing side of things. In the discussion, especially when it comes to a lot of her community outreach and just overall nature was just a really warm and welcoming thing. And then talking to David, wow, just he packs a lot. It's exactly how you would think David Tua would be. A lot of energy and a lot of love, and his initiative in his gym is just, but hearing about it is amazing, and his idea of what we can do with our mind is a good segment that we get into within the conversation. So if you're listening or you're watching it on YouTube or listening on iTunes, I highly recommend that you listen to this podcast. It's full of important information as well as just advice that's given out by both of them. So if you're watching this, enjoy the podcast, enjoy everything that's in between from this intro to now. This is Vincent Vitalino, and we're talking to David and Helen Tua, Southside Korero. Kia ora. Welcome to the show. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Bula Vinaka.
Talofa. Yeah, Bula Vinaka.
Fiji Language Week.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Big Bula. Thank you. So, right off the bat, I want to go straight into talking to Helen. You have a lot of projects as well as programs that you're dealing with the youth. And for our viewers and listeners, can you please explain those programs and projects that you're going through throughout your amazing years of just sharing?
Before I met my incredible husband, I was raised in central Auckland. Parents from migrants in the early 60s came for that call to fill the labour shortage here in New Zealand. Factory workers, incredible people, and they met, married, and produced 3 wonderful children, and I was the middle child. And being raised in a family that was on average 15 to 17 people in the house, it was normal to be with your aunties in one bedroom, 6, 7 aunties in one bedroom, uncles all over the floor, because our parents wanted their own siblings to enjoy life in New Zealand, and they brought over. That was what our parents did, and being raised by the family, the village, and then continuing that on. So going to PIC Newton, and I think my first. Other than having so many cousins and families, one of the things that I did was become a Sunday school teacher. Okay. And I taught intermediate, and I loved it because I got to teach the way that I believed would work for our young ones, and giving them a voice and letting them design their incredible ideas. And at the same time, I worked for I still work for a power company. And having lots of opportunities in an incredible power company. So I've only had 2 roles in my life. Well, actually 4. So when I was 8, I did the paper run to raise money to help mum and dad. When I was 14, 15, I worked at a bakery, my girlfriend's family bakery in Surrey Crescent. I think it was the first salmon bakery in Grey Lynn, and worked there. And then I worked at the post office telecom for 11 years, became a manager, led my first team, and became a manager again at Mercury, which is where I'm at, and I've led lots of teams in the business, and yeah, and then I got to meet an incredible man.
Yay.
And saw what he was doing. So we crossed paths because it was for a fundraiser that Samoa was hit by a cyclone in, I think, 2012. A cyclone hit Samoa. There was a fundraiser that the Minister Aotearoa wanted to arrange, and because my role at this time is in the community, he asked if I could help with that fundraiser, and I got to meet this incredible man, and we crossed paths, and he was sharing what he was doing at his gym and running these amazing youth programs, and as someone working for a corporate, I was able to support that. Yeah, and I think I will pass that over to my husband to continue his incredible work.
Hey, awesome. So yes, going off what Helen was saying, your youth programs. What inspired you to start that sort of thing up, especially for those in the youth in South Auckland?
Well, firstly, Vaftai Molewa Noa, thank you for blessing me and my darling wife with this great opportunity to share.
Thank you, sir.
Some of our stories, hopefully that can inspire a lot of our youth of today. I guess for me, I was a teenager. I was a youngster. I mean, growing up in South Auckland, there weren't that many opportunities of I guess things that a young person can get himself involved with. So now I'm at the stage of my life that I need to give back. So for me, there's no fixed thing that we are doing with our youth programs or the programs that I'm involved with. Kids will always be kids, youth will always be youth. And sometimes the best thing you can do is to be a good listener. Not always a good listener, but I'm trying my best. So whatever they need, I'm there trying to be a good listener and try to assist. So at the end of the day, you do your very best, not trying to empower your way of doing things or influence them the way you look at life. So try to be patient and listen to them and try to see things from how they see life. But it's a great privilege, yeah.
Absolutely. Growing up in a Samoan family like myself, who, our parents who were brought up in that way of the far Samoa way, where you look up to your elders and you look for guidance with them because they've had those experience those years, especially when they came from Samoa to New Zealand to seek for that better life. And I look to my parents, my mother who's at home at the moment, who's still guiding me through those journey, and my father, bless his soul, up in heaven, who's looking over to watch over his family. So to hear something like that is reassuring, because we do look up to our elders, especially like yourself, David and Helen. We need those people in our lives, because otherwise it will be guideless. We don't have those people who are our beacons and our our guidance, and pretty much we look to them. So with that in mind, what sort of things that you're looking at inside of a person of youth, when you bring them in your programs? What are the things and what are the attributes that you look to bring the best out of them, pretty much? So what are the things you look at when you're guiding these youth into your programs?
If I share from Vincent from the gym perspective, so the David Tua boxing, we have this awesome warehouse in Onehunga. We moved here recently in September 2020, actually just during the lockdown, and so we were able to have a place that is a standalone building, and we converted it into this really cool gym. And we decided to change the way that we ran not just the programs but the time of the gym, and because before we moved, we were working quite long hours, with our day jobs, and then in the evening, like early morning, opening the gym, day job, and then evening. So we made a decision for our marriage's sake to fit the gym around us. So that was fundamental. It was no use having a business where my husband and I were rarely seeing each other, and just wearing ourselves out. So we decided to put our marriage first, and then we believed that if we did it right, that people would come. Were we worried about losing people? Yeah, we were, but we prayed about it, and we believed that putting our marriage first would be okay. And that's exactly what we did. And what we found is when we moved here, we changed the hours. We only opened for 4 days a week. We found that the gym numbers just increased. And what was interesting is we needed it to increase because our lease now had tripled. And and we knew that we had faith that our gym membership would increase and that we would be able to meet those expenses. And we then we now had a reception area downstairs. So that's downstairs. We're actually upstairs in our little studio. And with the help of our niece, so she is 23. So she was able to help us with just helping us to understand, the youth and what they would want. So we made sure that whoever comes through our door, that they are received. It's like you, Vincent, when people walk into AA or Accelerated Aotearoa, you greet us with so much love, right? Absolutely. Well, the same as with our gym. And we are specific about who sits in reception. So the person who sits in reception is myself, my husband, or wana. And the reason we have them is because they must love every single person that comes through that front door. Absolutely. And that's exactly what happens. Yeah. They come through the door, and there are so many times, Vincent, that we are emailed by SIFs, Child, Youth and Family, from the police, from social services about our young ones who have been disrupting the community. And we do this deliberately. We ask them that they do not let the kids know that we know about their background. We want them to... Sorry.
That's all right.
We want every youth to know that when they walk through the door, that we don't know anything about them. We're taking them on face value because they already know what they already know about themselves. Everyone else has labelled them, and when they come to our place, they have a clean slate like everyone. Absolutely. And so that's what happens. And what normally happens is I either greet them or Wana greets them. And my niece Wana already knows how to engage with them. She's funny, she's loving, she's a comical individual, and we greet them. Hey, welcome to our gym. Before you come in, these are the rules. And so on the back of so you can see the backdrop is that. But when you walk into the gym, you'll see a big sign that says our values. And only if they say yes to accepting our values can they walk through the next phase, which is the door that takes them into our boxing gym. They can't come in any other way. And that is very clear up front. And when they say yes, and what's really cool is when they read it, because I say to them, you need to read that first before you are absolutely welcome to our gym, but you have to accept our values. And then they stand there reading. Sometimes I'm conscious that maybe their literacy isn't that great. And in a respectful way, I'll say to them, hang on a minute, just checking. How's your reading? Are you okay? I can read it to you. And they'll go, oh, no, miss, I can read it. This gym is blah, 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 blah. And the social worker or whoever will help them along the way. And then they'll look at us and then they'll smile. And then I say, is that a yes or a no? And then they say, it's a yes. And it's like this whole thing changes inside of them. And then we say to them, come on in, you're welcome. And everyone in the gym knows that anyone that is new, they are to make them feel loved and welcome. That's it. That's the rule. If you don't, you are not welcome here. We have a very low tolerance of people breaching our values. We don't muck around. If you've disrespected somebody, we ask you to leave. That's it, because it's already clear up front. We don't compromise the health and well-being of our members. So they'll come in, and then people will meet them, greet them, and members will just come in, hey, and and it's wonderful because they'll say to their social worker, when can I join? When can I join? And one of the challenges we have is making sure that we, even if the funder or the social worker or social agency can't fund them, we will do our best to fund them, because we can just see that light switch on in their eyes.
Yeah.
Like there is that glimmer of hope that someone loves me just for me and not for this heavy thing that I've been
carrying,
that I've been tarnished with. Yeah, it's just incredible. And then I'll just let Mr. Tua continue.
Yeah, so the gym isn't your typical boxing gym. It's very, we take pride in our place. We wanted to make sure that when people come through our home, is that it's very different. I've always said this to our boxers, our young boxers. Just because you're a boxer doesn't mean you have to talk like a boxer, look like a boxer, smell like a boxer. Just because it's a boxing gym, it doesn't have to look like a boxing gym, feel like a boxing gym, and smells like a boxing gym. So, we want people to feel good when they come through the door and when they walk through the gym, that they want to be here. And for us, boxing just happens to be part of what these youth get to do. But the most important thing is become the best person that you can be. Be a champion in the ring and champion outside of the ring.
Absolutely.
So not all of us become, successful in boxing. But if you can become successful in life, then that's pretty much where it's at for us. But it is a privilege that we don't take lightly. The opportunity to play a small role in these young people's lives.
Absolutely, and well said, both of you. Like you mentioned, Helen, when someone walks into our workplace in Exonerating Aotearoa, I feel that a person who has this baggage or their load on their shoulders sort of steps into the door, and that weight just sort of goes, it falls away. We want to know you by face value. We want to know what your soul is. So if you need help, we don't care what happens in the background or what you're carrying or what sort of persona you carry or what sort of character you are. We want to know you as the core person. And to again, echoing out for what I'm hearing is an amazing opportunity, especially for those who are young. They're very they're very imprinted on Yes, exactly. Very impressionable in their lives and who they see and who they come across. So when you do walk those doors and you see the words that are written on the wall and before you enter, it's an amazing thing because they get to see, okay, this is who I need to be, but more importantly, am I comfortable being me here? Then I can leave on my options. But if I want to go forward, let's work with them as I work with as you work with me. So it's awesome to see. So coming around, like impressions and whatnot. We're in a situation around lockdowns and COVID. Um, we got a lot of our people who are still on the fence on trying to get vaccinations. So I just want to get your opinion on that on terms of COVID vaccination and testing, and what sort of things do our community need to do in terms of staying on top of those sort of things, if you can.
Again. You're gonna go. This is his favorite topic.
For me, we shouldn't be bystanders. We should be, standing around and sort of waiting for the rest to get theirs done and wait for the last minute. I think sometimes we can become too relaxed, that we don't really have a full understanding that this is serious. This is life. This is life or death. You can die. You will die. And if you don't take these precautions in regards to being vaccinated, not only yourself but your family will die, and someone will catch it. And because of the situation with the Delta now, it's a lot more worse than the first one. So for me, I cannot say enough and encouraging our families, please, let's stand together with our government, with everyone that have volunteered their times to make sure that everyone is well supported. That there's a lot of crazy theories out there, or conspiracy theories in regards to what's in the vaccine and stuff like that. So I do understand that at times you can get nervous and it's nerve-wracking if you don't know what's going on. But as far as I'm concerned, God has gifted us with a spirit of no fear at all. So it's in us. So we need to do what's right, not only for ourselves but for our families. So let's get vaccinated.
Absolutely. How about yourself, Helen? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So they did some research, MPP, Ministry of Pacific Peoples, and I think Judy was on that as well. They did some research on why our people don't get vaccinated, and there seems to be there's accessibility, for those people who do want to get vaccinated but just don't know where to go or don't know how to get there. Yeah. And then there's a group that are sitting on the fence that are unsure, and there's another group that are just black and white. They're not going to get vaccinated. And they say that group, you can't move them, so you leave them there. But the ones that are on the fence, it's so important that that they listen to people that they trust. The conspiracy theory things that are on social media, as my husband mentioned, is quite damaging. So we'll put that to the side. But when you listen to the doctors, and if you've got all these anti-vaxxers talking, very strongly on social media, and people are believing them, you'd always want to say to yourself, what is fact? What is true? And is that true? So when you have people in the medical field that are doing their best to say it is safe. We have done our research since 2003, and it is, when you look at the flu vaccination and they update it every single, the virus changes, this is like that. So when we can give our people information that is understandable and comprehensible to them, that they get it, then we can help our people understand that it's a good thing for our families. We have friends who were COVID positive, and the experiences that they had was horrible. And then you have a friend who passed away overseas who was not vaccinated. So at what point do you actually say this is conspiracy, or the government's lying to me and it's owned by the media or something? At what point do you actually make an informed decision to say this is real and it's affecting the people that I love around me? And but you can do what you believe is right for yourself, whether you vax or not, but at least get an informed decision and an informed opinion. Speak to those who are in the field, in the health field, who are looking after people, who are doing the research. We were fortunate yesterday. Mercury brought on board Nano Girl, who was she's Dr. Dickinson.
Michelle Dickinson, yes.
Yeah, she was incredible. We had her for an hour, right? And she had the up-to-date results, everything that was going on in the world, Israel and America and all the stuff. And there's about 900 of us at Mercury staff across New Zealand, and there were 300 that were on, and they were just firing questions at her, and she answered every single one to the T. And it was so interesting. It was probably for me and many of us that were listening, for the first time, we actually understood what this thing was all about. And she gets threatening mail all the time from the anti-vaxxers to get her to shut down. But she won't, because she is a scientist and she has evidence. And, she shared with us the difference with the with the Pfizer vaccine and the vaccine that the Australians chose, right? Yeah. She showed us an orange and she showed us little pointy things and where the virus connects. And it was so incredibly informative. She talked about the masks, why they're so important. It's not just wearing the masks, it's making sure that when someone coughs, especially, as my husband mentioned, that the spores don't get into your nose and mouth, and the importance of blocking this and making sure that your mask is not damp because it's open to bacteria. There were so many things that she shared. And I've actually asked our HR department to see if we can actually get that recording so we can share externally. But it was, when you are armed with informed information, you can then make a decision, but not going on social media, especially if people are not qualified, general practitioners or scientists, and especially when people are dying around you. There are so many people in our Pacific communities who, the sad one of the Samoan gentleman, mid-50s, who passed away, right, in ICU for the last 14 days, and he passed away from the Assembly of God. And there's another 14 people in ICU.
It hits home, right?
It does, right? And still, we question those that are sitting on the fence, but we have to put it in context. They're sitting on the fence because there's a reason for that, and it's making sure they have an understanding of what this is all about. That's the most important. Yeah.
So interesting enough, you mentioned Dr. Michelle Dickinson. We had her as our first guest on the podcast, which was a very enlightening conversation. It was awesome. She went through just explaining how the vaccine works.
Well done.
Thanks to Will and Judy for that setup.
Well done.
So she went through a whole bunch of things and explaining the science behind the vaccine and the science behind behind the mask wearing and whatnot. Just like how you did with Mercury Energy. I honestly believe that I wish that our education system, especially our young ones who are, who think, I'm young, I can just defend off, or who are acceptable to, because a lot of them are on social media, like you said, the information. I wish we had that sort of person who is going on tour, like our shop buses who are doing vaccines, who are teaching those sort of things, especially to our people. When you mention the Assembly of God, praise them, because they've been trying to do their best to get to their communities and go, test, vaccine, do what you need, fa mole mole, please, it's important. So for yourself and David, when you got, I'm hoping you did get your vaccines, yeah? You both got your vaccines? Not yet? Perfect. My next lead-up question is, what were your thoughts when you do get your first shot? Because a lot of people we're just explaining to those who are on the fence. What are your current feelings when you're going towards your first shot for the very first time? Because those who are on the fence will not know that feeling of, oh, I'm still undecided, but I do want to hear from someone who's going for their first shot. What are the thoughts that go through your mind?
Okay.
Huh?
Good.
For me, so I'm going to be really honest. I was a little bit nervous because I already had people in my ear telling me about this egg and this 666 and this thing, all of that stuff. But my husband's immune system is comparable, and that is what made me get the vaccination. Was I didn't want anything to happen to him, and it was and so when I made my decision that it was going to be, it was to protect my husband because of being together all the time, then that was my decision. And then we went to Tuariki Health. So we're with Tuariki Health, and they are pretty amazing.
Service, yeah. Amazing.
And Pink, done. All done. Done and dusted.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, for me, there were no second thoughts or any questions about it. I did it for my health. I did it for us. And I did it for my family. I did it for all Aotearoa, a family of 5 million. So, So I think this conspiracy theory about the vaccine and all that, it's almost like, for me, my little knowledge, it's almost like the wrong history that have been told to us in schools.
Yeah.
And now the real history is being told now. It's being, it's being rolled out as part of the school curriculum now. And we've learned about so many other histories, and yet, the history of this beautiful Aotearoa is forgotten about. It's not being spoken about.
Not being told. Yeah.
So it's a bit like that. It's a bit like, the story of a believer, well, supposedly, that believed in God, but they had a flood. Long story short, they've sent him a lot of lifeguard boats to get him to ashore, and even a few helicopters, and yet he refused. He said, "No, God will help me. You guys saved yourselves. God will help me." So long story short, he died, went to the gates of heaven, and he said to God, he said, I'm a believer. I believed in you, and I waited for you to come get me. And God said, I sent you 4 boats and a helicopter. What more do you want? What more do you want, man? Do you want me to come and handily get you? You want me to come down and get you? So I think there's a little bit of that in our people, respectfully.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that, but that's just how I look at life and how I see life. Sometimes, unless you're in really deep trouble, then you're like, oh man, it is real. You know, am I going to die? You know, if something had happened to my wife and kids, you know, it's real. You know, I think for me, unless something of that magnitude happens, a light bulb won't go off. But
Absolutely.
hey, that's just one man's opinion, anyways. But don't be like the man on that, you know, the man that waited for the boats, that to send the boats and a helicopter to get him. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't want to be stuck on an island for too long while it's flooding. That makes sense. It goes back, yeah, it goes back to don't wait for the last minute to go, I you know, oh, like this happened and you know, I'm not vaccinated. Or you know, your immune system shuts down and something happens. So be proactive. As what I gather is be proactive as much as possible. Archie Jacinda 2 weeks ago basically said it best, which is don't wait until December. Go straight into a vaccination spot. If you don't feel comfortable in contact, go to the drive-through centers. So awesome story. But with all things, I will come up with my final two questions. This goes out to both of you. There's a lot of things that people are going through in terms of COVID and lockdown. You know, what are the things that you suggest that people should do right now? As in terms of people can't really, slowly people are going out. People are slowly go into between two bubbles. What are your suggestions to those who need that escape from being at home for so long?
God has blessed us with probably one of the most powerful, most wonderful, most beautiful element of us, and that is our minds, right? You know, as kids, when we didn't have much, you know, we're so amazing and creating, you know, we created our own fun. You know, we came up, you know, we came up with a lot of other beautiful sports and games and a lot of things that got us occupied and a lot of things that got us out of trouble or in trouble. So I think it's that time for me, it's a time to really utilize and capitalize your beautiful brain. There's so many things that we can do during the lockdown, you know, instead of being closed indoors. I'm sure you can probably start a garden, vegetable garden. You can probably start doing other things that you've always wanted to do and never got the opportunity to do. Maybe not go out of your boundaries and stuff, because we can't at the moment. But I'm sure there are so many other beautiful things. Maybe write a book. Write a story about this COVID situation and how to fix it. You know, come up with your own ways to deal with it. You know, so if it does happen again, you can sell your book and make money. So, but for me, yeah, it's wonderful. We have the most wonderful brain in the world. So let's make the most of it. That's for me, anyways.
Yeah. And yourself, Helen?
Because of the industry I'm in with electricity, my days are quite busy. So I've been full on the on Zooms and Teams, but when I can have a break, I'll just walk around. And we're fortunate that we have a warehouse and a gym, and so I'll just walk around the studio, walk around downstairs, up. But you know, there's something about looking outside and looking at the star and looking at the sky.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm really fortunate that I can sit here before I start my day. The windows are quite big when we open our curtains, our ear lover curtains.
Hey.
We take it right up.
That's the job.
We take it right up, and it's just there's something just quite incredible. Just watching the clouds go by and watching the formations and just being, you know, I spend a lot of time saying thank you to God. Thank you for my husband, and thank you that we are safe. Thank you that we have a place that we can call home. Thank you that we have a job. Thank you, that, for these opportunities as well to reach out and to share and, so giving gratitude and being thankful for just the moment that we have is really awesome. And as my husband shared, it's, how once upon a time we would run out on the street and get all wet. When it rains, we'll run out and get, have a shower in the rain and play with the, piece of wood and those very simple things that allowed our kids to co-create in the natural environment has completely dwindled away. So that's what I try to do a lot of. And I also have I'm doing a course, my postgrad course as well, out at the Mind Lab. It's Leaders for Change. Really awesome. I haven't studied in a very long time, but it was really nice to do that. And that's every week. So it's getting me back into reading articles. Do I agree with them? Maybe not, but it's just nice to do something different and just to, like my husband said, just do something that you've always wanted to do, but you never tried it. Because, we can do so many things on the computer. You can Google and, our mind is an incredible thing. It is, the scientists haven't worked out fully what the capability of our brain and, just trying different things, but also, being grateful is a big one.
Absolutely. I myself is busy at home working a lot, so I tend to focus on the computer and talking to many people online. I tend to forget how beautiful God's creation is. Just sticking your head out the window or just going outside is the most important thing to remember, that the beautiful canvas that God has given us out there, the sky to the ground, to the grass, to the trees, and everything out in between. So just reminding each and every one of us who, like yourself, who's stuck in an office or in a gym, just there's everything else that is out there is beautiful. Just going out there and taking it in. And thank you for those answers, because it does feed into those who are watching, gives them ideas of what to do next.
Sometimes it's best to, at times like this, it allows you that time to really get a closer and personal look at your family. Sometimes it's a glimpse, hey, but deeply look at their face, look at how many steps it'll take from the bathroom to your room. Silly situations like, oh, I didn't know I had a mirror here. Oh, I didn't know I had this here. Oh, I didn't know I had this here. So it's an opportunity that I've always been like a glimpse, at you blink and it's gone. But now it's an opportunity really for you to really take time out to really not only look at it, but actually take time to feel it. Hey,
absolutely.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I didn't know that was there. Like I said, the mind, brother.
I'm telling you, David, you sell that, you'll go instant. A lot of people will just become rich from not only from their own thoughts, but from just the idea of just going off their mindset. It's good. So coming off to our final question, which is, I always ask my guests this final question. It's always comforting to ask this question, so people feel comforted and know what they can do from here next. Is that, what are your three golden advice that you like to give to those who are listening? The three advice that you give to those who are currently in lockdown and just feeling like they need that pep talk, or they need that little step in their life. So what are the three golden advice that you would give?
I suppose people, depending on who's watching, everyone's situation would be different. And one of the things that we often think about is how can we relieve one of those things for the family so that it's one less thing for them to worry about. I think if there was one thing that someone could help you with, and I often go back to the food, and if there was one thing that you just wanted relief from, even if it was for a temporary moment, but it was the one thing that would give you that space to just breathe, could you write that down? Could you write 3 things down, the top priority, 1, 2, 3, and could you give that list to someone who cares about you, or that might have an influence to achieve those 3 things to help you?
Yeah.
Because I sometimes think that, it's easy for us to say, think big, dream big and all that stuff, but practicality wise, if there were 3 things that we could help with, if you got to write it down, if it was, I don't know, a chocolate cake, or maybe $50 to help with something, or just 3 things, simple things, could you give it to someone and could they then share it with us? And we will try to meet that first one or second one or third one. Yeah. And I think if everyone who was in a position of influence could take those 3 things from people who need that help, and if we all was able to say, I can do that one, and I can do that one, and I can do that one, then we would all be able to relieve 3 things from a person's list of heaviness. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that. I like how you flipped it. It's awesome. It gives the opportunity for that person to bring out what they need, what their needs are, and I think, and I like the term "pay it forward" because it's such a good feeling to do such a thing, and it is awesome for you to say that. It's awesome. I never thought of it that way.
I didn't either, Vincent, until I was talking about it. It's that same. I have this thing about when people ask us, what are the 3 things? What are the 3? For me, it's beyond. It's more than that. It's if I'm watching, if I'm stuck somewhere and I'm watching 2 people like ourselves, and I want to get something that is real, that is practical. I want to. It's like even now. So when I learn things, when I try things, when we're doing things at Mercury, I challenge a lot at Mercury. I challenge the status quo because I always think about, hang on a minute, that doesn't make sense to me. Is that going to help me? No, give me something else. That's good. Those words aren't real enough. It has to be real for those who are receiving the message. And sometimes we go beyond the thing. But when we bring it down to practicality, there's so many of us that are in privileged positions. And when I say privileged positions, there's so many of us that have jobs. And if we could support one person in New Zealand, just like, how you sponsor a family overseas, if we can sponsor one person each, imagine what that would do for that person. If we could look after them, if we could pay, do something, put something in their account to relieve something for, I don't know, for a year. And then that's that one thing that they don't have to think about for a year that we can do. I think rather than government can only do so much. But there's lots of us that can do a little bit more by sponsoring each other. Well, not even sponsoring, because that word is, deficit. I don't know if it's deficit, but, just, no one needs to know. I've just made a decision that person there, I'm going to cover your bill, or I'm going to cover your rent, or I'm going to cover your food, or I'm going to do something for the next year, and someone else can look after it. So someone else who looks after that person they just look after that person, but I can financially support you. And they don't need to know who I am. They just know that there's someone who cares.
Absolutely. And it brings a whole different meaning to the saying that Auntie Jacinta echoes, a team of 5 million. It goes beyond just the vaccine thing, or it goes beyond what the rollout is. It goes like within a family thing. How about you, David? What advice would you give in terms of people who are feeling that way? Or would you echo how Helen has gone through in terms of just advice?
Yeah, pretty much.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, pretty much. I think my darling wife have said it all.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but it's a great opportunity, and thank yourself for allowing us the opportunity to share some of our stories, just with some of the things that we get up to. And I guess for me, hopefully some of the things that I've said and my wife have said and shared can share some light on some of the questions or some of the challenges that some of our people in the community that could be going through. So, but yeah, we're in this together, New Zealand. We're in this together, family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you so much, David. We come towards the end of the podcast. This is where we give you the floor in terms of promotion, or not really promoting, is more of a shout out to basically anyone who wants to find you both in terms of social media or any of your projects that are currently happening, going on. So it's sort of like a what's up. So take it away. What are you doing at the moment, and where can we find you?
Get vaccinated.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Get vaccinated.
Come on, get vaccinated. There's so many vaccination programs going on. Please make that your priority. Vaccinate. Vaccinate. Vaccinate.
Yes, yes.
Where can we find your gym as well, David?
We're here on 54 Galway Street, Galway. In the corner of Galway Street and Princess Street here in Onehunga, beautiful Onehunga. So people that knew of our old place, it's a 5-minute walk from where we were before. So we're about, hopefully when things get back to normality, we are looking at launching David Tua Academy. So if you are listening and you are interested you want to support us, private message us through the David Tua Gym, please. Awesome. Otherwise, lots of love to you guys, and be safe, be caring, be patient, and just keep loving each other.
Hey. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. And
no worries.
This is us in Southside Korero.
See you another time.
Hey! Oh, that was awesome.
Great job, man. Did a great job.
Thank you, David.
You were amazing. You're absolutely amazing. You got the whole awesome, brother.